Connor's family statement and report, there were many people who weren't convinced at all. Why? Because in most people's eyes, the heirs of the wealthy and the powerful never obeyed the rules. It was common knowledge that they indulged in drugs, alcohol, and other illegal things. As a result, it was more believable that Leon was on drugs. It wasn't difficult for the authorities to fake a report. In fact, many people didn't believe the Russell family statement about their son either. However, the public had no evidence to prove it was fake. The Connors family knew that it was impossible to completely remove the news from the public's attention. As long as fewer and fewer people paid attention to it, the drama would be forgotten within a short time. They made a statement with a fake report, so they believed that they were cleared and could defend themselves. Ariana and Henry didn't pay attention to the whole scandal for the time being. They went back to the bungalow. Ava, Talia, William, and Zella in the backyard. In the middle of them stood a little boy who was about 3 years old. The second Ariana saw him, she was amazed by how lovely he was. Additionally, she sensed pure magical energy emanating from his little body. Where did they get this little boy with magical energy? She wondered. Oh, where did you pick up this little kid? He's adorable. Come on, give me a hug, squealed Ariana, reaching out her arms to hug the little boy. The little boy giggled and ran to Ariana with open arms. Just when she picked the boy up, Ezekiel said, "He's the tree vine you took home." Ariana was struck dumb and instinctively loosened her hands, causing the little boy to fall to the ground with a loud sound. If he was an ordinary kid, Ezekiel and the others might have gotten worried, but he had magical energy, so they weren't concerned. "Master, you just dumped me," the little boy complained. Although it wasn't painful, he still felt hurt because it seemed that his master disliked him. "Oh, I'm sorry. I was just too shocked. How come you turned into a boy?" Ariana asked. She genuinely didn't know how the tree vine managed to do that, so she was stunned. Even Henry was surprised to find out that this little boy was the tree vine. "I wanted to give you a surprise," replied the tree vine, feeling hurt. "Fine, I should apologize. Why don't we go buy you some clothes? Since you're a boy now, you'll need to wear clothes," Ariana pointed out. The tree vine was currently wearing clothes that Ava had fashioned for him from her own clothes, because he was totally naked when he first turned into a boy. Ava planned to take the tree vine to buy some clothes after he was covered with her clothing, but the tree vine wanted to wait until Ariana was back, so they listened to him. Although the tree vine only looked like a little boy of about 3 years old, he was actually hundreds of years old. Therefore, when he wanted to hold Ariana's hand, Henry pulled him to the side and said with displeasure, "Boy, you better stay away from my girl." Hearing that, everyone was amused. The tree vine was just a little boy. Although his real age was hundreds of years, he had the appearance of a 3-year-old kid. Did Henry have to be so serious? "He's just a kid," whispered Ariana. "He's a male, and he's at least 300 years old," muttered Henry. Ariana didn't know what to say, and neither did the others, but they could understand Henry's worries. At any rate, it was their own affair, so they didn't interfere. "Master," the tree vine whined, staring at Ariana pitifully. He felt that Henry was being a jealous boyfriend. Although he was a male and was 300 years old, he was a magical creature, not a real man. Fine, walk by yourself," Ariana ordered. She didn't want to annoy Henry, so she didn't hold the little boy's hand. "Fine," the tree vine agreed and didn't argue with them. He wasn't a real kid, so he knew what he shouldn't do. After that, Ariana and Henry took the tree vine to buy some clothes. Although he had lived for 300 years, this was the first time that he had ever been a human being, so he was extremely excited to see the world. He asked about everything that he saw. Ariana and Henry didn't think he was annoying. Henry could get along well with him as long as he didn't go to hold Ariana's hand or ask for a hug. He just didn't want the tree vine to this was a kids' clothing store, there were many rich customers who shopped there, and rich people always bought a lot, so it wasn't too strange that Ariana wanted 20 outfits, although the saleswoman was slightly surprised. She couldn't handle it alone, so the three saleswomen did it together. Before that, they invited Ariana and Henry to rest in the lounge, and they poured tea for them. The tree vine didn't care much about the clothing, so he was fine with Ariana's arrangement. Due to Henry's presence, he didn't dare to bother her too much. There were customers with kids in the store, and they were also amazed by the tree vine's beauty. However, some of them got jealous. In particular, a boy around 5 years old was unhappy that the tree vine was so welcomed. He immediately walked over to him and tried to push him. Ariana and Henry saw it, but did nothing, because the boy couldn't really hurt the tree vine. As a magical creature that was hundreds of years old, the tree vine saw the boy coming to push him. He didn't avoid the boy, but just stood there. When the boy pushed the tree vine didn't move at all. Instead, the boy felt as if he had knocked into a wall and bounced backwards. He fell to the ground and instantly started crying. Hearing his cry, the three saleswomen turned to look at him. Before they could ask about it, the boy's mother ran over and helped her son get back to his feet. "Oh, my dear boy, what happened?" she asked. "He pushed me," the boy accused, pointing to the tree vine. "How dare you do that to my son? You don't have any manners at all. I must teach you a lesson," the woman scolded angrily. She lifted her hand to smack the tree vine. Although the woman was no match for the tree vine, he looked like a 3-year-old kid. If he showed his true strength, it might cause unnecessary trouble. Therefore, Ariana needed to intervene at that moment. Without delay, she stood up and walked forward. She caught the woman's wrist before her palm could strike the tree vine's cheek. With her wrist caught, the woman was furious. She struggled fiercely, but couldn't get rid of Ariana. "Let me go. This is none of your business," shouted the woman. "I'm his older sister. It is my business," Ariana sneered. The woman hadn't seen Ariana's face until then, but she got jealous the moment she saw how beautiful Ariana was. "This girl is stunning," the woman thought, but she composed herself and argued. "Your younger brother just pushed my son." Ariana scoffed. "Ma'am, don't lie to my face. Don't you feel guilty at all? You just witnessed what your son did. It was he who wanted to push my younger brother, and you didn't stop him. Then, he ended up falling by himself. I didn't say anything, but you jumped in and criticized my younger brother. It's ridiculous." The woman panicked a little, because she didn't expect Ariana had witnessed what happened. She indeed saw her son go to push the little boy, but she didn't stop him, because she was also unhappy that the boy was so cute. Sometimes, if you were too attractive, you might get as much hatred as appreciation. Even though the woman saw what happened, for the sake of her pride, she still denied it. "Nonsense. I didn't see that. It was your younger brother who pushed my son. If my son really did that, your younger brother would have fallen," she insisted. If ordinary kids were pushed, they would definitely fall, but the tree vine wasn't an ordinary boy. "Well then, why don't we go watch the surveillance footage? There is a camera right above us," said Ariana, pointing at the place above them. There was indeed a surveillance camera there. "After that, we can call the police," she suggested. The woman was struck dumb. If they really watched the surveillance video and called the police, she and her son would be the ones who ended up in trouble. Therefore, although she didn't want to take the blame, she didn't dare to continue arguing with Ariana. Instead, she gave her a glare, then left, carrying her son. She didn't even have time to shop for clothing. The saleswoman didn't blame Ariana for arguing, because they also disliked the woman's behavior. If the woman didn't leave on her own, they would have kicked her out. In fact, they were more worried that Ariana might be mad, so they apologized to her at once. After all, she was going to buy 20 outfits, so she was an important customer. They had to treat her well. Ariana didn't care about it, so she sat down and let them continue to pick clothes for the tree vine. The tree vine was so adorable, so he would look cute in every set of clothes. He also wasn't picky. After shopping, Ariana and Henry directly went back to the bungalow. They didn't stay at the shopping mall for longer. After an afternoon, fewer people were talking about Leon's drug scandal, and the public...
Advancements in clean technology will continue to revolutionize our ability for solar energy capture, making it more efficient and accessible than ever. Join Raymond Yin, host of The Tech Between Us, and Scott Wharton, CEO of Tandem PV, as they explore groundbreaking solutions in solar energy. Listen to the full episode at mauser.com/empowering-innovation.
Public soon started to lose interest in the news. There was so much news every day that the hot topics were different every hour. However, that night, right when the Connors family felt that they had overcome the crisis, a video was uploaded to Twitter. It was from a new Twitter account without fans, so normally the post wouldn't attract much attention, but it was easy for Kay to get attention. He tagged every major gossip Twitter account, then used his skills to put it at the top of the list of the hottest topics. As a result, once internet users logged into Twitter, the first piece of news they would see would be the truth about Leon being on drugs. The video proved that Leon really took drugs, and that the Connors family disputed the original test report and made a fake report about his asthma. Actually, not many people had been convinced by the Connors family statement. They simply paid less attention to the news because there was no evidence. However, now there was a video to prove that Leon indeed overdosed. As a result, once the video was released, it caused another sensation, and it attracted even more attention this time. In the Connors family's house, Master Connors was furious and hit the coffee table with his fist. He also smashed the teapot and cups to the ground, shattering them to pieces. "Damn it, do an investigation right now. We must find out who posted this video," he roared. The other members of the Connors family were also astonished after they watched the video, especially Leon's father. Leon became suspicious of his friends at once and immediately called them. Although they did an investigation right after he got in trouble and they were proven innocent, it didn't mean they weren't involved in making the video. Any of them could have been bribed by General Russell. Only his friends and the hospital staff were allowed to go into the ward at that time. So in addition to his friends, the doctors and nurses also might not be innocent. Leon's friends denied putting any cameras in the hospital room. At the same time, they were angry that Leon was suspicious of them. They were fair-weather friends, but they wouldn't do that to him. Even though all of them denied it, Leon still didn't completely trust them. After that, he started to investigate the doctors and nurses that had gone into his hospital room that day. There were 2 doctors and 3 nurses in all, but one nurse was missing. Obviously, the nurse who disappeared put a camera in his ward, or someone disguised themselves as a nurse. The nurse seemed to appear and disappear out of the blue, leaving no hint about her identity. Because they had no more clues, their investigation couldn't continue, which greatly angered the Connors family. They never thought about the consequences of their own actions. If Leon hadn't schemed against General Russell's son, the Russell family wouldn't have paid them back. They were so self-centered that they would only blame other people for their own faults. However, they still didn't dare to argue with General Russell face to face because they had no evidence against them. Besides, after what happened today, they had no intention of retaliating against the Russell family, at least not for now, because they would only get a worse result. Most importantly, Master Connors was unwilling to lose more because of Leon. After the scandal broke, their family's reputation would be damaged, which wasn't good news, but they could live with it. Because of the Connors family's power and influence, Twitter had to delete all the posts about Leon. It wasn't a big issue, so Henry and Ariana didn't bother to do anything further. It was enough for them that more people were already aware that Leon was using drugs. Moreover, Leon would suffer from a recurrence of drug addiction. If he took drugs again, he would become hopelessly addicted. If he tried to stay away from drugs, he would be tortured with withdrawal symptoms. Right after the video was released, Master Connors forbade Leon from leaving home for a month, which was also torture for Leon, who loved hanging out with his friends every day. However, he had made a terrible mistake, so he had to listen to his grandfather now. Leon didn't mention that the whole scheme was his father's idea. He wasn't a good man in some aspects, but he was very protective of his father. In the bungalow, Ariana offered to set up a room for the tree vine, but he declined. He couldn't speak like other people, so he would turn back into a tree vine at night and plant himself in the soil. Since he decided to do that, hardly control himself. He smashed a lot of things in his room and even hurt himself. In the end, Master Connors told people to tie him up, so he stopped injuring himself, but the pain was still unbearable. Leon's parents were heartbroken, especially his mother. She even considered secretly giving him drugs so that he didn't need to suffer the pain, but she didn't dare to say that aloud. Finally, Leon passed out from the pain and was sent to the hospital. This time, he survived but paid a heavy price. If he wasn't sent to the hospital right away, he could have died. Unfortunately, if he wanted to get rid of the addiction, he would have to suffer from withdrawal attacks countless times in the future. He wouldn't live a good life after being tortured so much. Leon's mother was extremely worried, so she said to her husband, "Honey, Leon survived this time, but what will happen to him the next time? I'm afraid he might not be able to stand it." "Since he could tolerate it this time, I believe he can survive next time. Don't worry, we will help him," responded Leon's father. Although he said that, he also was very anxious. After all, nobody knew what would happen in the future. "Why don't we get some drugs? If Leon has an attack again, we can let him take some if he can't stand the torture. It breaks my heart when he tries to hurt himself," cried Leon's mother. "No, if Father finds out, he'll blame us," refused Leon's father. In fact, he also had that idea, because Leon was in excruciating pain, and he felt guilty seeing that. After all, it was because of him that Leon schemed against General Russell's son and was paid back. "Then what should we do?" Leon's mother asked, feeling heartbroken. She couldn't stand to see her son being tortured. Leon's father just sighed. He had no idea what they should do. Unfortunately, 3 days later, Leon had a drug withdrawal attack again. This time, Leon's mother couldn't stay calm, and she gave him some drugs she had hidden away. Master Connors was angry and criticized her for doing that. Left with no choice, he gave Leon's parents an order. If they continued to give Leon drugs, he would abandon Leon. After all, if Leon became a drug addict, he would be a humiliation to the Connors family. A week later, Henry still hadn't contacted Ariana. Ariana got worried and gave him a call, but his phone was turned off. After that, she called Gerald, but his phone was also turned off. She called John next, and he answered, but he wasn't with Henry and the others. He only knew that Henry went abroad to carry out a task. That made sense, and Ariana felt a little relieved, because it was indeed inconvenient for Henry to contact her from abroad. That afternoon, while she was in her 3rd class, someone called her. It was Chevy, which meant it had to be something important. So Ariana immediately excused herself from her class and walked out. Her professor wasn't unhappy about it, because Ariana was allowed to come and go freely in their university. Besides, she must have to deal with something important. Ariana was the pride of the professors and the university, so she had privileges. After she walked out of the classroom, she answered her phone. Chevy immediately said in an anxious voice, "Boss, something went wrong. A woman is on a rampage, and she's vandalizing our stores. So far, she smashed up a branch of Jade Beauty Jewelry, a Smart Health Pharmacy, and a Cozy store. She's very strong, and none of us can stop her. She's even injured 7 employees. From the surveillance video, I can see that she isn't an ordinary person. She has superhuman strength and carries a sword, which damages a large area when she swings it around. I already told Kay to watch her through the surveillance cameras. She's driving now, heading towards the Eastern District." Ariana was furious. She was sure that the woman couldn't be an ordinary person, but who wasn't? She had no idea. "Send her photo to my WeChat, and tell Kay to report her location to me. I'll go there right now," instructed Ariana, as she walked to the stairs. Because it was an emergency, she didn't have time to ask for leave. She would call her head professor afterwards. Ariana reached the parking lot as quickly as possible, but she controlled herself to only run at an accepted speed. Otherwise, it might cause unnecessary attention. Therefore, when other people saw how fast she ran, they were surprised, but didn't think it was strange. After she arrived in the parking lot, she took out her phone and read Kay's message. There was a photo of the woman who smashed their stores. With a glance, she recognized it was Arista's daughter, Giselle. Was this an order from the Balbus family, or was it Giselle's own decision? No matter what the reason was, Ariana was determined to pay her back. She quickly drove to the location Kay sent her. Luckily, there was no traffic on the road, so she smoothly drove and sped up along the unacceptable to make the woman go crazy. When Giselle arrived at the Smart Health Pharmaceutical Company's branch in the Eastern District of Los Angeles, it was already closed. As soon as Chevy received the message that Giselle was heading that way, he ordered the branch to close at once. Giselle understood why they closed, but she was totally out of control right now. Even though the branch was closed, she still went ahead to damage it. At the front entrance, she took out her sword and swung it down with great force. Ordinary people might not be able to cut the door open, but Giselle was exceptionally strong. With the help of her magical energy, she easily cut through the burglar bars. Everyone was amazed by her strength and by how sharp her sword was. Giselle didn't stop until the door was opened. Then she went inside and swung her sword at everything in her sight. Nobody dared to stop her, and they only watched from the outside. A few minutes later, everything in the store was a total mess, and she finally went outside. Right at that moment, Ariana came and blocked Giselle's way. The onlookers didn't recognize Ariana, so they were worried that she might be injured. However, no one dared to go forward to pull her back, so they shouted to her at once. "Miss, it's dangerous. Come back now," a woman called out. "Miss, that woman is unbelievably strong and seems crazy," another person warned. Everyone believed that Giselle was mentally unstable. Otherwise, she wouldn't come out and damage everything with a sword. However, Ariana didn't reply to the onlookers because she was furious at the moment. When Giselle saw Ariana, she wasn't afraid of her, although she knew Ariana was Ezekiel's disciple and was at a high level. She was too angry to stay reasonable at the moment. "Go to hell, you jerk," Giselle shouted, then attacked her without delay. Ariana had no weapons in her hand, so everyone was nervously watching the scene. They believed that she was going to be injured. However, unexpectedly, even though Ariana had no weapon and Giselle had a long sword, Giselle still couldn't hurt her. She easily dodged Giselle's attacks, and within moments, she had knocked away the long sword, surprising the crowd. "Wow, that young woman is amazing. I thought she was going to be stabbed," an onlooker exclaimed. "It seems that she's confident that she'll win," another person remarked. Afterwards, someone recognized Ariana. "Isn't she the owner of this pharmacy, Ariana Young?" a teenager observed. "What? You mean she's the chairman of the Shetler organization?" someone else asked. Everyone was aware that Smart Health was owned by the Shetler organization. "Wow, she's even stronger than everyone said. I thought that the crazy woman was already unbelievably strong, but Ariana still knocked her weapon away within seconds," complimented a man. "No wonder so many people call her a goddess. She's a real goddess and is perfect," agreed a teenager. They all started to compliment Ariana. Meanwhile, Giselle became weaker without her sword, so Ariana easily beat her to the ground. However, she still wasn't scared at all. Instead, she glared at Ariana as if she wanted to tear her to pieces. She was angry, but Ariana was even angrier. "Giselle, you've got some nerve. How dare you damage my stores?" Ariana screamed. She was still surprised by the boldness of Giselle's actions, although she knew it had to be related to what had happened to the Bulbous family, but she hadn't been involved in that personally. She just had a close relationship with Ava, and yet Giselle was venting her anger on her for that. "You teamed up with Ava, and then she disabled my grandfather and caused my grandmother's death. We lost the Bulbous family support. I have to pay you back," growled Giselle. Actually, she wanted to get revenge on Ava too, but she was unable to find her, so she came to damage Ariana's business. When the onlookers heard that, they realized that Ariana had been dragged into trouble because of someone else. This Ava woman sounded very cruel for disabling someone's grandfather and causing her grandmother's death. Before the crowd knew more details, no one knew what the truth was. "So what? There is no grudge between you and me. You shouldn't have damaged my properties," Ariana argued. She continued, "And please be clear, Ava didn't cause your grandmother's death. She was seriously injured by your grandfather and died afterwards. Everyone in the Bulbous family witnessed that. As for your grandfather, he deserved it. He tried to kill Ava many times and even attacked her son. If she didn't disable him, he wouldn't stop trying." Ariana didn't want to talk about it publicly, but Giselle already mentioned it aloud. If she didn't explain, people might think it was her family's fault. Everyone was surprised when they heard Ariana's explanation. They all thought it was extremely cruel for Giselle's grandfather to have tried to kill Ava and her son. It was obvious that if Ava didn't fight back, she and her son would end up being killed. Giselle continued to shout. If it hadn't been for Ava, my grandmother wouldn't have been injured by my grandfather. And if Ava hadn't humiliated the Bulbous family, my grandfather wouldn't have tried to kill her. She hurled the blame on the victim, which angered the crowd. I don't argue with stupid people. Let's talk about it with the Bulbous family, sniffed Ariana. She was unwilling to waste more time on Giselle. She directly picked her up and decided to go to the world of immortals. However, Giselle suddenly yelled to the crowd, "Don't be fooled by Ariana. She isn't a human. She's a monster. A monster." Giselle didn't say that Ariana was an immortal, but a monster, because she was trying to defame her. Ariana merely rolled her eyes with a resigned look. Then she hit the back of Giselle's neck forcefully, knocking her out. The crowd was astonished by Giselle's words, and they were more convinced than ever that she was mentally insane. They didn't believe in monsters at all. Ariana understood that Giselle wasn't convincing, but she still muttered, "You're crazy. If I was really a monster, you wouldn't dare to mess with me." No one believed Giselle's words, so they just found it funnier after hearing Ariana's reply.
Dear listener, now playing the next audio series.
As soon as the men left the ship, everyone there knew exactly who they were. Their prominent white robes had been displayed many times on different TV station and news broadcast shows, and they were currently in the center of the Civil War, being one of the only big two families remaining. The question on everyone's mind, including those in the cursed family, was, what were they doing here? Leaving the ship, Hector stood at the front. He wore a similar uniform to those behind him, but his uniform had green trim around the edges, and his sleeves had a slit, showing his forearms. His uniform indicated that he was part of the Autumn class within the Greylash family, the highest class there was out of the three classes. The 9 men behind him, though, had no such color and only wore pure white, which indicated they were the Humulus class, the lowest Greylash class. Still, the fact that they had sent someone from the Autumn class meant they deemed this as important, which had blown the others away, especially Helen. Walking towards the center, Hector looked around as if he was looking for a certain someone, but he was a little disappointed, as all he could see was Blip, avoiding eye contact, looking away and whistling. When Hector and 2 of his men joined the center, he walked towards the 2 groups. Everyone there gave them a respectful bow, including those in Daisy and the parasites. "Where is your faction leader?" Hector asked. "He's busy at the moment, but will be returning in a few days," Linda replied. Hector looked a little disappointed by the answer. If Quinn wasn't here, he felt like him being here was a waste of his time. The only reason the request was accepted was because of Owen. Owen was too busy doing his own things to travel to the planet, so he had asked Hector to oversee things and to look out for Quinn, hoping to see his skills in the duel. "What are they even doing here?" Tony asked. "Why would they help an Everett faction like this one?" "Don't you know?" Helen replied. "This planet belonged to the Greylash family, and the faction called the Crows used to work for them. Information is key, and you guys should have done your research. However, I had assumed that their relationship had ended, but it appears that they are still connected." In Helen's mind, it was the only way to explain why they were here right now. "This is why they accepted the duel? Is this why they've been acting so cocky?" Mantis said in anger, and walked forward so the other group could hear them. "We had no idea that the Greylash family owned this planet, and that this faction was under your command. We do not wish to fight and cause trouble with the Greylash family. The duel is off," Mantis demanded. Hector turned to look at him, and just the sheer stare and name had frightened Mantis. In truth, Mantis was hoping to show his power to Daisy today. That way, after calming the planet, it would be easy for him to join up with them, and he could get a high position in the faction. He had no intention of dealing with any of the big powerhouses, at least not yet. He knew his strength and how far it could take them. "I think there has been some misunderstanding," Hector said. "This planet does not belong to the Greylash family and belongs to the Cursed faction. We are only here to officiate. If anything happens to them, it is none of our business, and the 2 of you are free to do as you wish." Lifting his hand, Hector pointed at Blip in the crowd. If you wanted to, you could tie up that man and beat him until he could no longer speak, and neither the Greylash family nor I would do a thing to stop you. Damn it, I knew you still had a grudge, Lip shouted. It seemed like what the Greylash family was saying was the truth. They also had no reason to lie. They were so strong that if they wanted to, they could get involved and stop all of this in an instant. There was no reason for them to do this. So they thought they could just scare us, Tony said. Throw us off our game by getting in contact with an old flame. If this planet used to belong to them, of course they would say yes. All of the others' nerves were settled a little after what Hector had said. Helen thought a little differently. She made note that Hector had asked for the faction leader personally. Knowing that they had successfully defended against an attack from the Sun Shields, and now this. It was certainly something they needed to keep an eye out for. The rules were explained to both groups, and the third parties were both there to listen in. It was clear that if death was to happen, it was not...